Imagine buying a piano with perfect keys that never stays in tune. The first chord glows for a breath, then the room turns into a painful wobble that makes everyone wince. That is the fix one feature fallacy in real life. A single polished part can look impressive while the whole system quietly collapses. This matters when companies ship software, when clinics adopt new tools, and when you plan your own workday, because weak links are where trust, money, and safety leak out first. Teams can spend months polishing one headline capability while customers leave for products that simply feel smoother. Workers can chase one heroic habit while sleep, focus, and relationships unravel in the background. By the end, you will be able to spot this trap quickly, run a simple harmony check, and build choices people can live with instead of admire. Picture a busy cafe at morning rush. The owner installs a beautiful espresso machine that can pull shots with remarkable precision, and the crema looks like a magazine cover. Yet, orders still crawl because the milk steamer sputters, the point of sale freezes, and cups are stored across the room. Customers do not praise the perfect shot while waiting in a tangled line. They just feel friction and decide not to come back. Operations research has shown this pattern for decades because throughput is constrained by the tightest bottleneck, not by the brightest island of excellence. Usability research echoes the same finding since one repeated delay can erase goodwill created by several delightful moments. The brain experiences services as a flow, so one snag can poison the memory of the whole experience. If that sounds harsh, the next example makes it even clearer. Think about the last app you deleted even though one thing in it was genuinely great. Maybe the search worked beautifully or the recommendations felt uncanny, but logging in kept failing when you needed it most. Do a quick test right now and name that app in your head, then name the tiny irritation that finally pushed you away. Most people can answer in seconds because friction leaves a stronger trace than isolated brilliance. Behavioral science often finds that people respond strongly to moments that signal unreliability, especially when those moments repeat during everyday tasks. Trust behaves like glass in this context, since it builds slowly through smooth repetition and cracks quickly through small betrayals. Product teams often call these minor bugs, but users experience them as broken promises. In a moment, you will see why smart teams still keep making this mistake, even when they know better. A founder I worked with named Maya learned this lesson the hard way. Her team built an education app with an astonishing study assistant that explained concepts in plain language, and early demos made investors lean forward with excitement. Students loved that one feature during guided trials, yet retention dropped after launch because syncing notes across devices failed unpredictably. Support inboxes filled with messages from students who lost work the night before exams, and no amount of brilliance in the assistant could calm that panic. Maya first responded by improving the assistant even further because that felt like progress she could show. The numbers stayed flat, morale sank, and the team started doubting itself. When they finally shifted focus to boring reliability work, account recovery, sync stability, and clearer error messages, retention recovered and word of mouth improved. Large product analyses often show the same curve, where dependable basics predict long-term engagement better than advanced features that sparkle in demos. The counterintuitive part is that the boring fixes looked less impressive but created far more value. A common objection sounds reasonable at first. People say that a standout feature can compensate for rough edges, and sometimes that seems true in short bursts. A blockbuster game can launch with a stunning world while menus feel clumsy, and fans may tolerate that briefly because novelty is powerful. Yet the tolerance window usually shrinks as routine sets in, because daily use exposes every awkward step that excitement once masked. Across service design studies, sustained satisfaction tends to come from coherence, not from peak moments alone. Even in luxury markets where signature experiences matter, the baseline still has to feel trustworthy and smooth. Nobody celebrates a perfect tasting menu if booking feels chaotic and billing creates anxiety. The standout feature can attract attention, but harmony is what keeps attention from leaking away. Next comes the deeper reason this trap feels so seductive to intelligent teams. The human mind loves visible wins. A polished feature creates a before and after story that can be shown in a screenshot, a demo clip, or a launch post. Harmony work is harder to celebrate because it often removes pain rather than adding spectacle. Decision research suggests people overweight metrics that are easy to measure and underweight background conditions that quietly determine outcomes. Teams then reward the person who shipped the shiny upgrade while ignoring the person who reduced failures nobody now sees. This creates a hero loop where everyone hunts the next dramatic improvement and nobody wants to own integration debt. Marketing pressure reinforces the pattern because one bold message is easier to sell than a nuanced story about balanced quality. None of this means teams are careless. It means incentives and attention naturally drift toward what looks impressive in the short term. Here is a practical way to break the cycle without slowing innovation. Treat your product like a small orchestra instead of a solo performance, and ask 3 harmony questions before you celebrate any upgrade. What other part now becomes the bottleneck when this part improves for your user? Where can a user lose trust during normal daily use when attention is low? Which boring fix would make the premium feature feel effortless rather than isolated? These questions sound simple, but they force the team to evaluate flow instead of fragments. Controlled experiments in operations and user experience repeatedly show that coordinated moderate improvements can outperform one extreme improvement surrounded by weak links. You are not lowering standards with this approach. You are moving excellence from a single spotlight into the entire experience. Try another quick experiment while this idea is fresh. Open the tool you use most at work and narrate each tiny pause in your head for the next few actions, from signing in to finishing one real task. You will notice where momentum breaks, where confidence dips, and where you start compensating with workarounds. Those moments are usually the true design priorities, even when they never appear in a launch announcement. If you lead a team, ask each member to run the same walkthrough and compare notes on the same task. You will often see surprising agreement about pain points that were previously dismissed as edge cases. This is how harmony becomes visible and actionable instead of vague philosophy. Once the pain map is shared, feature decisions become calmer and far more honest. The stakes rise even more in high-consequence settings. In healthcare systems, a brilliant diagnostic model means little if handoffs are confusing and alerts arrive at the wrong moment. In finance, sophisticated fraud detection can still fail customers when account recovery is slow during emergencies. In education, powerful tutoring tools can underperform when sign-up flows overwhelm anxious learners. Evidence across these domains keeps pointing in the same direction because outcomes depend on the chain rather than the strongest link. Perfection in one component cannot rescue dysfunction in the surrounding workflow. Harmony does not mean everything must be average because each part should support the next. Harmony means each part supports the next part so people can move forward without fear or constant correction. Return to that piano from the opening image. Perfect keys were never the real goal because music only appears when the whole instrument holds together and responds as one. The same truth applies to products, teams, and personal systems that need to survive real life. Fixing one feature can feel like progress, but harmony is what turns progress into results people can trust. When you notice something dazzling, ask what it depends on, what it might now expose, and what quiet repair would let it truly sing. Build for flow so every step supports the next, not for applause. People share what works beautifully together when the whole experience feels dependable.